I've been looking at MMOByte content a lot more than I usually do. Very recently. And I feel like I kind of get the impression that he's having a mental breakdown. Like he's going through something. And I feel like it relates more to his job security as a YouTuber than it does like what else is happening in the world. But I'm interested to see his take because he has a very deep history with Asian MMOs and playing gacha games and everything that's got anime ass and titties in it. So I'm quite interested to see what he would think. So let's see what he's got to say about Tarisland.
So Barbarian Fighter's gender locked, Paladin is not gender locked, Shadow Swordsman's gender locked, Phantom Necro's gender locked, Bard's gender locked, Ranger's gender locked, Priest is gender locked, the Mage is not gender locked.
Based.
The Warrior is gender locked. So pretty much everything is still gender locked. I know you're looking at the title and you're already preparing to write a long defensive comment on why Tarisland isn't actually bad. But before you do, I want to preface this video by stating that my opinion on the game is not an objective fact. It is a subjective opinion. We all have them. Your opinion.
He didn't need to put the segment in. He fucked himself here. From playing the YouTube game, what I've learned is you can either be honest and get nowhere, like my channels, or you can be a filthy fucking liar and bait people into commenting. Right? So he didn't need to put the segment here. All he needed to do was never mention it, and this video would have popped the fuck. Why is there a helicopter flying over my house? Hold on 1 second. Oh, that's pretty cool. So, off in the distance, outside of my, like, I don't know if this will make sense. So off in the distance, just about that direction, if I look out my window, there's a helicopter with a spotlight, and it's obviously following someone. So I wonder what that person did. It's like maybe like 10 or 20 kilometers away from where I live. Just off in the distance.
Might be that the game is good. My opinion might be that the game is bad. It is more than fine to have and to make up your own opinion of a game, of a movie, a series, an anime, whatever, based off of your own collective experiences. That doesn't mean people need to dislike it or disagree. Everyone is welcome to have one. With this in mind, even after watching this video, even after reading through the comments, I want you to go ahead, download the game, and try it out for yourself. Just because I or someone else liked or did not like the game doesn't mean that you're going to feel the same way. You might love the game, you might hate the game, you won't know until you try it. This video, these experiences are based off of the very limited amount of time I could spend playing it on day one, because the game does time gate you.
The game does time gate you. That's not surprising, it's an Asian MMO. Also, I see the ad has started, so we'll wait that out. Okay, let's keep going.
Which inhibits your progress, stops you from moving through the game until a certain amount of hours have passed. In this case, to continue on with the story, to continue to unlock more content and do more things, I needed to wait an additional 15 hours. Now let's get into my opinion.
Yeah, that's normal. That's normal for any MMORPG coming out of Asia. Time gating is a thing. It's been there forever. It's never going away.
This is a beautiful game aesthetically, but outside of that, it is one of the poorest quality.
It looks like Play-Doh to me. It looks like those stop motion animation like movies where everything is, it reminds me of Wallace and Gromit. I don't think Americans know what Wallace and Gromit is, but that's what it reminds me of.
Mobile focused, mobile oriented MMOs that I have played all year. It is so low effort, feels ridiculously low budget. There has not been a single thing other than the pretty backgrounds that I've enjoyed about this. The story is so disconnected, disjointed, unbelievably difficult to understand. It's so...
Yeah, but that's because you're not Chinese. I bet if you played the game in China, it would make a lot more sense. Translation from China to English is so different because it changes the context of everything, right? There are certain concepts that exist within like the Western mindset that just are non-existent within the Chinese mindset, and vice versa. And so to someone playing a translated game coming out of China, it's going to make no sense. Go watch any old school Chinese movie and you will see exactly what I mean. It makes perfect sense to them, and they'll call like this Chinese movie a masterpiece, and not just because their dictator has a gun to the back of their head and wants to blow their fucking brains out if they criticize anything, but because they culturally like understand that movie in a way that you won't coming out of the West. Exactly. It's honestly like they ran it all through chat. They probably did, Jay Gussie. They probably did. I wouldn't be surprised if they decided to cut corners and they just slapped the whole translation through ChatGPT, and ChatGPT hallucinated half of the translations.
So incomplete, so cut up, meshed together, stuck together, and held together with a fine thread. There's nothing gripping about the story whatsoever. Nothing to enthrall you in the game. Nothing to captivate you or want you to actually not skip it. And we...
You know what's really funny to think about? You could change this entire background of this video to retail WoW, and it feels like his criticisms would still hold water.
We played through a bunch of the story. We ended up skipping a bunch of it because it's just that bad. It's no Final Fantasy 14, no Guild Wars 2, no World of... Well, I mean, WoW's story, you know...
You see, even he caught it. Even he saw, he's like, well, actually, retail WoW is just like this.
There's not a very high bar, let's be honest. Rate it from 0 to 10, I would rate this as a PC MMO a 2. As a mobile MMO, I would rate this a 7.5. As a PC MMO, this is absolute...
Jesus, a 7.5 for a mobile MMO. That's pretty high, considering Subway Surfers exists.
Horseshit. As a mobile MMO, this is pretty damn good. As a cross-platform MMO, it's okay. The combat in this game is obnoxiously boring. I have 6 skills. Well, I guess, you know, like a grand total of 7 skills.
Okay, so let's see what we're looking at, right? Chat box is in the same place as WoW. Skill bar looks like an ARPG as opposed to the 1,000,001 buttons that you get in WoW. Health bar is in the same place as WoW. This top piece here, this top bar is generally at the bottom in WoW, so that's a change. Map in the top right corner, quests middle right. I'm assuming these are buffs or different buttons you press on to get different things. Yeah, this seems like WoW clone out of 10. Ready in 25 to 30. Okay, that gives me time to go through a 1-minute video after this one. You can customize your UI with no add-ons and has a built-in damage meter, no add-ons. That's probably a good thing. So they did learn some lessons from retail WoW then.
Shield and a blink, right? It's basically, you know, a mage from WoW, but for children. For people that, you know, don't have the ability to click, you know, 40, 50 different skills. WoW has, and Final Fantasy 14 has, you know, multiple different hotbars that allow for you to layer dozens of different abilities. This game's like, you know what? You don't need to think. We're going to give you a couple different skills. We're going to give you the option of upgrading your skills automatically, so you don't need to think at all. Man, I'm so distracted. I'm distracted by this because it looks like a silhouette straight out of the Burning Crusade expansion. You don't need to plan your build. There's just a build there for you with a couple abilities, and it's just gonna auto level them. Requires absolutely no input from you, no thought whatsoever. You just you run at the monsters and you click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 when they are available, and if a button glows, you click the glowy button. That's it. You can turn your mind off. You can close your eyes. You can have a second monitor going, watch YouTube videos. I mean, hell, you could probably play gacha games on the side. It's not going to.
Okay, so it's like the fucked up love child of a disabled I shouldn't say disabled. That's offensive to disabled people because they're not as bad as retail WoW. It's like a fucked up version of retail WoW had sex with the poor systems, the poorest components of Albion Online. But at least Albion Online has a deeper mechanics and crafting tree and design combat system behind it.
To inhibit your ability to progress because it is just that boring. Getting a 7 as a rating is crazy, but it's for a mobile MMO. The competition for mobile MMOs is like Moonlight Blade Mobile, Revelation Online Mobile, like dozens of mobile MMOs are just all auto path, all auto combat. This is not auto path, this is not auto combat, you know, you have manual options. It's just, it would probably benefit from being an auto game, having auto play in it, because it's just so bad otherwise.
Yes, he's probably right, but at least the character looks hot. And that's why it's going to fail in the West. Because this is not a fat black lesbian in a wheelchair. But at least the characters are hot. That's the counter argument.
So WoW for kids? Yeah, this is WoW for people that have never played a video game before. It's like, if you're being introduced to a game and you don't want to be overwhelmed by having more than a couple abilities, then this is what you'd play. If you don't want to have to worry about engaging in a story and trying to learn the lore or history behind the world or the characters or anything really, then this is a game to play. If you're literally just looking for something to click for the sake of clicking because you want to move your fingers, then this is what you'd play. The world itself feels completely pointless to explore. Right now anyway. That might change. We saw that there were, you know, really cool events that were supposedly available that we couldn't find. But for the most part, you just mindlessly run around the world just to get from quest giver to quest giver. That's it. To do a quest, which typically involves kill a few monsters.
Okay, so it's one step better than retail WoW.
That was it. But, you know, grab a box and take the box
over there. Come upstairs and beat the shit out of me if she sees me.
I got all the way to level 20 by just pursuing the main story, which people tell me is the soft level cap for today. Because, as you can see over on the side of the screen here, the main story, post-disaster relief, doesn't unlock for another 14 hours. In 14 hours,
oh, nice.
I can then go to the teleportation circle, which will then be repaired because the game time gates you. The entire thing is time gated. You hit a point and they're like, nah, fuck you, you can't play anymore. That's not.
None of that bothers me. Right? None of the time gating bothers me. Not because I think time gating is good. But it doesn't bother me because if this is like a super highly mobile focused game, which any Chinese MMO is going to be, because everyone has a phone, not everyone has a PC. But because once upon a time, there was a game I loved playing. And it was called Dungeon Keeper. And Dungeon Keeper was fucking incredible. And then EA got a hold of the IP of Dungeon Keeper. And the time gating and the monetary systems were so fucking bad, so disgusting in this dog shit version of it, that when I look at this game, it upsets me so much that everything by comparison, like this, doesn't even faze me. It doesn't even register on the scale of things that are upsetting to me. Even though I think it's a bad system to do that. They're literally giving us a free character change. Okay, then I have no idea why they're getting mad about the graphical change. Do you have to clean up her leg after you're done dry humping it? I mean, maybe. I mean, she's a mage. She can probably just fix that herself. But now all the art they have commissioned of their character isn't going to properly match. That's actually a fair point. That's actually a fair point. You know what? Final Fantasy players and furries both have the same trait in that a lot of them have a suspicious amount of money for personalized fan art stuff of their own shit. I don't know who these people are. I don't know where they get the money to commission these things. But both furries and Final Fantasy players have like a stack of cash hidden away somewhere, and they are single-handedly funding all starving artists around the world using it.
How MMOs are played. People play MMOs for an hour or two, or they play them for 20 hours straight. I played this for an hour and a half and I hit that. And I'm like, well, what now? I hit level 20. I ran out of content to do. I did some side quests. I did the PvP.
You're supposed to masturbate to the character for 14 hours, Sticks.
I did the dungeons. I've done everything. I can't do anything else. I finished the game. What is available to play right now? And
yeah, what's available to play is your dick while staring at the character. That's the plan.
it's absolutely ridiculous. Like now I just log off because I can't play it anymore. Like what MMO wants you to play so little? What game actually provides you no motivation to play? They literally have you play for an hour or two, and now you're like, well, there's no point in playing it. When I played Wuthering Waves, I played it for 10 hours day one, 10 hours day two. Like,
I think he's missing a fundamental idea here. I think there's something fundamental he's missing about the idea of a game that comes out of a place like China, right? China very specifically limits playtime for children. And this is obviously an MMO that's primarily targeted towards a younger audience. China has the system where they, like their kids and stuff with a TikTok account can only watch a certain number of hours within a day before the app shuts down and doesn't let them watch anymore. They'll do the same with games, and they got this highly controlled system because they're trying to avoid like the degeneracy of things that they see in other countries. And I think it's fucked to limit people's freedom like that. Because if you want to be a degenerate, go be a fucking degenerate. But that's how their systems work. So time gating is probably something that has to do with an interaction between young kids playing this game and a deal that's been struck between the game devs and the company of the game and the government of China that doesn't want people spending like 12 hours a day playing this game and being non-productive as a citizen. China #1. Yeah, exactly. It probably has something to do with that. That's not surprising because they do the same with TikTok. They do the same with, God, what's their, God, they don't use YouTube. They use another one. That it's basically analogous to YouTube, but it comes straight from inside China. Baidu or something like that. And they also limit the time that people can spend on that every single day of their life.
for the whole week, I poured probably like 40 hours into that game. It was crazy. I did all the story, I did so much exploration, I did tons of polls. It was so much fun, and I could do it without having to worry about being limited. Tower of Fantasy gated a bunch of its content behind time walls, time gates. This is the exact same way. I don't understand.
Where did Tower of Fantasy come from? Tower of Fantasy is Korean, right? So they would have time gated a Korean game for a different reason than they would have time gated this game.
Why they do that. It's stupid. It's truly terrible. It is. At least the characters look good. They do. They look like World of Warcraft characters, 100%.
They look like fuckable World of Warcraft characters. And that's the hook. Except for that thing in the back. I don't know what the fuck that thing is.
But at the very least, they do look pretty good. Some of them, not all of them. Unfortunately, how does Taris compare to Genshin Impact entertainment-wise? So Genshin at least has a moderately tolerable storyline. Genshin has significantly better combat. Genshin has a world that actually has things to interact and engage with. This has none of that. This has nothing. You have this actually very pretty world. You have a world that is actually beautiful to look at, but you don't want to explore it because it's just pointless. And I know there are going to be people in the comment section of the YouTube video that are like, but you could have probably found a treasure chest if you explored for 73 minutes over on the northwestern edge of the map. If you did this side quest, it might have unlocked.
You can tell that what he's going through here is a PTSD moment of a comment that he had to read on his YouTube channel. You can see it's going through his head right now.
A cool little event. But you don't know to do it. You don't want to do it. There's just no purpose to do it. And the game world is empty. It's uninspired. It's boring. It's just bad. There's not a single thing about.
But it's good enough to get away with it for a few hours in China playing this game on a phone.
The game that is anything other than bad. We did some of the dungeons. We stood literally still. We ran our abilities, the AoE circles, onto the other players just so they'd take damage. Like, come on.
I don't get it with the dancing thing. But that seemed, okay, so that seemed more like he was ranting about the game than anything else. And then he just cut it short so that he didn't have to worry about it.